I was strolling down the busy street, enjoying the sunshine and taking in the hustle and bustle of the city. That's when I heard the loud voice of a woman yelling at someone. I'm not one to ignore a commotion, so I followed the sound and found myself standing in front of a small clothing store. The woman was screaming at the store owner, demanding a refund for a used dress. The store owner, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, was trying to reason with her, but she was having none of it. She was tall, with wild curly hair and a face twisted in anger. Her eyes were narrowed and her lips were set in a scowl. I decided to approach her, hoping to calm her down. "Is there anything I can do to help?" I asked, trying to sound as friendly as possible. The woman turned her gaze on me, and I could see the anger in her eyes. "No, you can't do anything. This man is refusing to give me a refund, even though I deserve it." The store owner sighed and explained that the woman had bought a used dress and now wanted a refund without a receipt. It was clear to me that the dress had been worn, and I could see stains and loose threads on it. The store owner couldn't give her a refund, but the woman refused to listen to reason. "You don't know what you're talking about. I deserve a refund, and I'm going to get it." I tried to reason with her, but it was no use. She was convinced that she was entitled to a refund no matter what. I stepped back, hoping that the store owner could handle the situation. Again, she turned to me and said, "Am I right, young lady? What would you do?" I said, "To be honest, this dress I guess was worn before. I'd not return it if it violates the policy of the store." But the woman turned her anger on me. "You're just like him, aren't you? You think you're better than me. You don't know what it's like to be me." I took a closer look at her, and I could see that she was on edge. Maybe she had been through a tough time, or maybe she was just naturally entitled. Either way, it was clear that she needed to learn some humility and respect for others. I sighed, realizing that there was no reasoning with her. "Yeah, because you're so special," I muttered under my breath. "What did you say?" she demanded, stepping closer to me. "I said that you're a very special person," I repeated, trying to sound sarcastic. The woman sneered at me. "You're damn right I am, and I'm not going to let anyone tell me otherwise." At this point, the store owner had had enough. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but you need to leave now. You're causing a disturbance, and I can't have that in my store." The woman glared at him. "I'll leave when I'm good and ready," she said, making a move to grab the dress off the rack. The store owner stepped forward, but the woman shoved him out of the way. "This is mine, and I'm taking it!" she screamed, making a run for the door. I watched as the woman ran down the street, clutching the stained dress to her chest. I shook my head, realizing that some people were beyond reason. I woke up on a Saturday morning feeling refreshed and energized. It was a beautiful day outside, and I was eager to enjoy it. My name is Alice, and I'm a 25-year-old teacher who just finished her first year of teaching. I live alone in a small apartment in the city and don't have much family or friends around. I decided to make the most of my day and go for a walk in the park near my apartment. As I was walking, I saw a woman in her mid-40s walking towards me. She was wearing expensive-looking clothes and her hair was perfectly styled. I smiled at her as she approached, but she didn't acknowledge me. Instead, she just walked straight into me, nearly knocking me over. "Watch where you're going," she exclaimed, as if it was my fault. I was taken aback by her rude attitude, but I decided to ignore her and continue my walk. A few minutes later, I heard someone calling out to me. "Excuse me, miss. Can you help me with something?" It was the same woman who had just bumped into me. Reluctantly, I turned to her and asked, "What do you need help with?" "I'm trying to find a specific store, but I can't seem to locate it. Can you help me find it?" she said in a demanding tone. I told her that I didn't know the area very well, but I would try my best to help her. She gave me the name of the store, and we started walking together. As we walked, I asked her where she was from and what brought her to the area. She told me that she was from out of town and had come to visit some friends. They had recommended this particular store to her, and she was determined to find it. I found it strange that she didn't have a smartphone to look up the store's location, but I didn't want to pry. After walking for a few minutes, we finally arrived at the store. I pointed it out to her, and she gave me a curt thank you before rushing off inside. I shrugged it off and continued my walk. A few hours later, I was on my way back to my apartment when I saw the same woman walking towards me. This time, she was fuming. "Excuse me, miss. Do you have any idea what just happened to me?" she yelled. "No, what happened?" I asked, genuinely curious. "I went to that store you showed me, and they didn't have what I wanted. When I asked the clerk if they had any more in the back, she told me that they were out of stock. Can you believe it? She wouldn't even check for me, and it was your fault," she ranted. I tried to calm her down, but she wasn't having it. She started to get angry and demanded that I go back into the store with her to talk to the manager. I was hesitant, but I didn't want to leave her alone in her state, so I followed her into the store. Once inside, the woman marched up to the manager and started yelling at him about the terrible service she had received. The manager tried to explain that they were out of stock and that there was nothing he could do, but the woman wouldn't listen. "I demand that you give me what I want. I am a paying customer, and I deserve to be treated with respect. You should look for the dress that I wanted," she screeched. I rolled my eyes at her entitled attitude and sarcastically muttered under my breath, "Yeah, because yelling at people is the best way to get what you want." The woman overheard me and turned on me. "Excuse me, did you say something?" I shrugged. "Nope, just thinking out loud." The woman huffed and turned back to the manager. After a few more minutes of arguing, the manager finally gave in and said that he would check in the back for the item the woman wanted. He disappeared into the stockroom, leaving the woman and me alone in the store. I can't believe the nerve of some people. Just because they work here doesn't mean they can treat me like dirt. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned to her and said, "Look, I get that you're frustrated, but that doesn't give you the right to treat people badly. They're just doing their job." The woman glared at me. "Excuse me, who do you think you are? You're just a nobody, and told me I'd find what I look for here. It's your fault." I was taken aback by her insult, but I refused to back down. I may be a nobody, but at least I have manners and respect for others. The woman turned on me, her face twisted in anger. "This is all your fault. You promised me that I would find what I was looking for here, and now you're telling me it's out of stock," she yelled. I shook my head in disbelief. "I never promised you anything. I said I would try my best to help you, and I did. It's not my fault they don't have what you're looking for." The woman sneered at me. "Well, you should pay for what I wanted. It's the least you could do after leading me on like this." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Absolutely not. I don't owe you anything. You're the one who's acting entitled and rude." The woman glared at me before storming out of the store. As she passed by me, she grabbed a dress off the rack and tried to run away with it. But I was quick to react. I stuck out my foot, and she tripped and fell to the ground, the dress slipping out of her grasp. The woman scrambled to her feet, her face red with anger. "How dare you! You'll pay for this!" she screamed. I just shook my head and walked away, feeling relieved that the encounter was finally over. It was a lesson learned. Sometimes, no matter how nice you try to be, some people will never appreciate it, and it's best to just walk away. I posted a story a bit ago about Karen and her son's birthday, building him a custom gaming PC. For those who've not read it, the short of it is I have been doing custom builds and many other things in the field for years. Also, my dad is a pastor, and I am not forcing religious beliefs, just sharing what happened on a single day. So, bit of backstory on Karen. She was always trouble from the start. I would say that she had a mental issue, but it is really hard to say. She didn't like me from the start. Tattoos on my arms. Only 2 and 1 is for autism awareness. Dyed hair, purple, and took care of all the techs in the building for the church. Her grandson used to do it but stopped because he wasn't paid. On this particular day, it was cold out, as was almost every Central, almost Eastern America February. I was doing my thing, getting all the microphones, speakers, projectors, and everything in between ready for the day as people start coming in or from Sunday school. Karen, of course, was loud, but was usually drowned out by the kids who went to Betty, not her real name, as she gave them candy if they behave. She is really a sweet older woman. On this day, Karen was louder than usual. She was yelling about how her grandson would normally come to church, but since I took over the equipment and repairs, he doesn't come anymore. I was think, but he literally quit because he found out it's not a paid job. I didn't care since I could put it down on my resume as charitable hours and work experience. By the way, you can do this, but not all jobs will accept this as true experience in their opinions. While Karen is yelling, I'm ignoring her, checking the microphones for the choir. That's when my dad had called me over to look at his computer. He thinks he opened an email he shouldn't have or something as his computer was running slow. So I look, and I went as far as the command prompt and couldn't find anything. When I opened Task Manager, I found some of his applications didn't close and ended those tasks as his CPU was hitting 95% usage. Now, my dad runs lots of applications, as he can switch between a virtual Bible, PowerPoint, and a few others dedicated to his sermon, but was running on a laptop that was past her prime. It was me, opening the command prompt, though, that Karen found offense to. In the middle of a song, she got up, stole a microphone from a singer to speak. She was a teen that was already self-conscious about singing, and she was encouraged to if she wanted. So, seeing Karen rip it from her hands, the church was about to go 1692 on her. She started yelling in the microphone so loud that the compression was not allowing her peaks to come through. Even without the microphone, it was a small church, only 200 or so. She started saying how that the church has fallen apart because of me and my parents, how we invited sin, and that her grandson was even affected by this change. This is where things took a turn for the weird. She then explains how she saw me put some kind of code in my dad's computer and it was the devil's program and that I was trying to hack heaven. So I could apparently send sound to whatever tournament I choose. Yes, I was trying to hack heaven, she said. People were more shocked at this point than confused. Why? Because the girl who sang has a red-headed grandmother, white hair now. That didn't take kindly to the interruption. To be honest, I was laughing at this point at the ridiculousness of it all, and my laugh is pretty loud. Apparently, Karen heard me laughing, and I later found out after the catfight. She was telling people to listen to my deranged laughing. It's the sign of sin. To which I laughed again. She never came back there, and we didn't really care much. Because it was not just us she would behave this way too, and so people were sick of her. So you better watch what you know, otherwise people will believe you'll hack heaven. Ha ha ha.